Welcome to Raw History. This is where we cut through romanticization and speculation to show you, well, the unfiltered reality of human history. Viking ships represented one of history's most successful maritime technologies, dominating northern European waters from the 8th through the 11th centuries through construction techniques that achieved remarkable durability and performance. The clinker-built method, where overlapping planks were fastened together with iron rivets, created hulls that were simultaneously strong and flexible, a combination that allowed these vessels to navigate both open oceans and shallow rivers while withstanding the brutal conditions of the North Atlantic. Understanding the specific techniques that made Viking ships superior requires examining their revolutionary approach to timber selection, joinery methods, and hull design philosophy. The technique originated in Northern Europe, with the first known examples using metal fastenings that join overlapped planks around 310 to 320 AD. The earliest example of ship and boat building using overlapped planking joined with metal fastenings is an extended logboat from Sweden, the Björke boat from approximately 320 AD. By the time Vikings perfected clinker construction centuries later, they had refined these methods into a sophisticated system that produced vessels unmatched in their versatility and seaworthiness. The foundation of Viking ship superiority lay in how they processed timber. The planks on Viking vessels were riven, split, from large old-growth trees, especially oak, as a riven plank is stronger than the sawn plank found in later craft. This gives a stronger piece of timber than with sawn material. Not only is the grain continuous along the length of the piece, but the medullary rays are aligned in the same plane as the timber surface, maximizing the strength available. This radial splitting method worked with the natural structure of wood rather than cutting across it, producing planks that could flex under stress without breaking. From a 200-year-old oak tree, with skill, about 64 planks could be obtained through progressive splitting, halves into quarters, quarters into eighths, and so on. Each resulting plank was slightly triangular and rough, requiring smoothing but retaining the structural integrity that radial grain orientation provided. Logs are split rather than cut, as the split always follows the grain and doesn't cut across it. Almost all planks found on Viking boats are made from what is known as radially split wood. This type of wood is virtually unknown today. You won't find it at any timber merchants. The Vikings used green timber, wood used shortly after felling rather than seasoned. Green wood is easier to work and more flexible, which can help with some of the more complex shapes found in Viking boats. Wood can be kept green for several years by keeping it immersed in water. A stem of a Viking-style boat was found on the island of Eigg in what, 1,000 years ago, had been a lake preserved in waterlogged conditions. It's interesting to note that it is also possible to steam green wood without complex equipment like the steam boxes used today. In fact, simply by heating a plank over a fire, the moisture inside the wood heats up and causes the fibers to loosen, allowing the wood to be bent into complex curves. In clinker shipbuilding, you start by building the outside first, and then put a frame inside it. The advantage that Carvel has over clinker is that it can be made using any quality of wood, whereas to make a clinker boat, only the best wood can be used. Because the planks on a clinker-built boat overlap, they add strength to the boat so the frame can be lighter. It doesn't have to hold the boat together, just transmit forces between the hull and the propulsion, the oars and the sail. The overlapping planks were joined with iron rivets passing through both layers. The heads of the rivets are bent over rectangular washers called roves. This riveting pattern created a structure where each strake contributed to overall hull strength while maintaining flexibility. The ships were then made watertight by filling the spaces between the planks with tarred wool or animal hair. This caulking material created a flexible seal that could accommodate the hull's movement without leaking, a critical advantage over rigid joinery that would crack under dynamic stress. For the frames inside the ships, the Viking shipwrights used another type of timber that is rarely seen today, the grown timber. A grown timber is simply one that has grown to the right shape. Rather than forcing straight timber into curves through cutting and wastage, Vikings selected naturally curved branches and roots that already approximated the needed shape. This approach utilized the wood's inherent strength in its natural form rather than weakening it through artificial shaping. The Vikings praised their boats for their lightness and flexibility. Sea Serpent is a good Viking ship name, and, a good Viking ship will ride across the tops of the waves. This design philosophy represented a profound understanding of how to work with natural forces, rather than resisting them. A heavier carvel boat will tend to fall into them, giving a rougher and slower ride. Viking ships absorbed wave energy through controlled flexing of the entire hull structure, distributing stress across multiple joints rather than concentrating it at rigid connection points. The keel served as the backbone of the vessel, providing structural support and stability during voyages. To achieve these qualities, Viking shipbuilders carefully selected timber that combined strength with flexibility. Oak was predominantly used due to its robustness and resistance to water, which was, absolutely vital for withstanding rough seas and long voyages. In designing the keel, builders focused on creating a structure that could bend slightly without breaking, absorbing shocks from waves and currents. This flexibility was essential for maintaining speed and maneuverability in unpredictable maritime conditions. Wooden pegs, such as tree nails or tree nails, played a significant role in Viking ship construction. These pegs were driven through overlapping planks and frames, creating tight, flexible joints that accommodated the natural expansion and contraction of wood. This method contributed to the ship's flexibility and resilience in turbulent waters. The combination of iron rivets for primary structural connections and wooden tree nails for secondary fastenings created a hybrid system that provided both strength and adaptability. Although analysis of timber samples from Viking longships shows that a variety of timbers were used to build them, oak was most often used because it was strong, durable, and rot-resistant. Although oak is heavy timber, it can be easily worked by adze and axe when green. Generally large and prestigious ships were made from oak. The Vikings specifically selected timber from forests based on regional availability: pine from Norway and Sweden, oak from Denmark. Moreover, each Viking longship had particular features adjusted to the natural conditions under which it was sailed. Tree ring analysis of excavated vessels reveals sophisticated sourcing practices. The rediscovery and study of 5 vessels at Skuldelev in Denmark between 1957 and 1962 exposed valuable details about Viking shipbuilding techniques. Tree ring analysis of one longship's oak timbers indicated they were harvested around AD 1042. The so-called big longship from Skuldelev, also known as Skuldelev II, is made from Irish oak. This, demonstrates long-distance timber trade networks that allowed Vikings to select optimal materials regardless of local availability. There are now 13 original preserved Viking ships in existence. 3 are complete examples and, they can be found in the Viking Ship Museum in Oslo, Norway. The Oseberg ship and Gokstad ship, excavated in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, demonstrate construction quality that allowed vessels to survive burial for over 1,000 years. Analysis of these vessels shows the advanced use of oak timber, which was carefully selected for its strength and flexibility. The fastenings, mostly iron nails and rivets, demonstrate sophisticated techniques to ensure durability at sea. Experimental reconstructions based on archaeological findings have confirmed the effectiveness of Viking shipbuilding techniques. Modern replicas, built using authentic methods and materials, have successfully completed ocean voyages, validating that Viking design principles produced genuinely seaworthy vessels. These reconstructions demonstrate how ancient Vikings achieved strong, flexible hulls capable of long ocean voyages, confirming that their engineering choices represented optimal solutions to the challenges of medieval maritime travel. Subscribe to Raw History for evidence-based explorations of historical technologies that achieved genuine superiority through sophisticated engineering. Share your knowledge of traditional shipbuilding in the comments below.